Migrants are claiming their medicine is being taken away while they are in Customs and Border Protection custody. That's according to a Yahoo News report that cites several volunteer doctors who have been working at shelters and clinics at the border. One doctor said the most troubling patient he saw was a boy with a history of seizures. Reporter Caitlin Dickson writes, quote, according to his mother, the child had been on a long-term seizure medicine in their home country, but the medication had been taken from him upon entering the Border Patrol custody in McAllen and never returned. Caitlin covers immigration and domestic extremism for Yahoo News, and she joins me here on set now. Caitlin, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So let me ask you what other kinds of medications that these doctors said were being taken away from these migrants.
So the doctors were relaying what they had been told from the migrants themselves, and in almost all of the situations, they were for chronic conditions such as seizures, like that little boy, high blood pressure, diabetes often, and asthma, things like that.
Potentially life-threatening.
Yeah, if you don't have the medication for it, right.
And so is this policy something that has been in effect for a while? Help us understand the context here of this.
So the U.S. Customs and Border Protection has certain standards that have been in place since at least 2015, potentially longer than that, acknowledge the confiscation of medication along with other personal property when someone's taken into custody. And the policy requires that any medication from outside the United States, if it can't be validated when someone comes into Border Patrol custody, that person should be taken to a physician or medical practitioner to receive a essentially U.S. equivalent of the medication they were taking. And so the disconnect here is between what CBP officials are saying, which is that is what happens when somebody comes into custody, and what these doctors are reporting, who are seeing, sometimes hundreds of migrants a day at these shelters after they're released, saying, I have diabetes, I have high blood pressure, seizures, all that. I had my medicine that I brought from home, but it was taken away from me and never given back.
So they say basically what they have understood from the migrants themselves is that policy is not actually being followed, of getting those new prescriptions right away to the migrants.
Right. They're not ending up with the medication that they need.
Because how long, on average, do we have any idea how long, or if at all, does it take for these migrants to actually get those life-saving medications?
When they're in custody, it's unclear. I mean, there are some people, the standard is supposed to be about 72 hours that people spend in these facilities. And we're now hearing reports that people are spending much longer periods of time there, sometimes up to a week. And for a lot of these people, at least the patients that the doctors I interviewed spoke to, they had not been given the opportunity to receive their medication at any point during that time.
And just to give the government's point of view here, the idea of taking away the medication is done for safety purposes, they say, right?
Right. I mean, it's done sort of the idea is to make sure it's not, a dangerous drug or something that could, harm the person themselves or anybody else in custody. And so the idea is that, they take it away, but they will distribute it to the migrants according to a proper schedule. But again, what that policy says and what they're saying is happening does not reflect what is being reported by the migrants themselves.
So what have doctors been saying about how it is they feel CBP should be handling this?
I mean, a lot of the doctors I spoke to felt like they understand that there has to be some sort of, mechanism or policy in place, but at the same time, taking these medications away from people, particularly children who are really vulnerable, is just not smart and not safe. And so they, a few of them who I spoke to said that they think that if they don't have the means by which to provide them with medication, then they should just allow them to keep it.
Well, we're going to continue to follow this. Caitlin Dickson. Caitlin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.